Follow up just isn't a list of things to do. What we're going to be talking about is follow up is really about connecting. It's about building trust. It's about building relationships. You know that you have a solution to their problem. And that's where the sweet spot is. They just need to be ready. They need to know, like, and trust you. They need to develop enough trust in the technology and the company, and sometimes a little bit of trust in themselves before they say yes and they're ready to go. So today we're hoping to help you to be able to turn down your head because we all have lots of concepts that hold us back. And so my goal today is to be able to turn down the head and turn up the heart. Because following up with someone because you love and care about them is probably the least, or what am I going to say, the most selfless thing that you can do. We're going to go over some simple steps and processes so that you're going to be able to build your confidence. And most importantly, you will never, ever, ever leave anybody behind. So, with that said, we are going to get started. Little PowerPoint here. Boom, there we go. All right, so we're going to get really active in the chat today. And what I'd like to do is have you all start with popping in the chat. When does follow up start? When you think of, wow, I have this business that I'm growing and I'm sharing, when does follow up actually start? Angie said as soon as you talk with someone, 1 to 2 days after initial contact. Marge or Gia said at hello, at the beginning. Okay, at the time you start talking to someone, after the first conversation, giving them 1 to 2 days. Okay, I love that. I love that. I do believe that follow-up starts the minute we make the decision to get started and to share this technology. Because the very first thing that we're doing is we're starting our share list, right? We're writing down the names of everyone we know. And that follow-up part is, I believe, starts with making sure that we put everybody's name on the list. Because if we don't, we might have 5 family members, 10 friends, 5 coworkers that are on our heart, but if they're in our head and we don't write them down on a piece of paper, they're going to be lost to follow up. And all of a sudden you'll realize that you never ever put them on your list. And they might not be really happy with you. I'm just going to say. All right. So what we're talking about today is that all roads lead to follow up. So I want you to just follow with me here for a minute. When we think about our basic steps, because we fell in love with the technology, we have goals and dreams to be able to share this with others and to make a big impact in the world, right? Everybody's got their goals. So our process is creating our share list. Maybe we're out meeting people. We share our story. We invite them to learn more. We either invite them to a live Zoom or we send a recording. We then do a full share conversation. And after that conversation, they're either going to be not ready yet or they're going to be ready to start up. But if you go with me and if you think about walking down a path, every single one of these bullet points, every single one of these are steps as you're walking down that path, right? Okay. Anywhere along the way, someone could take a pause. They could turn and go into a different direction. And so that follow-up needs to happen. Sometimes that follow-up happens because they're not responding. Other times that follow-up happens because that is the normal sequence. So for instance, if I write someone's name on my share list, what's the next step? I need to reach out and connect with them, right? That's a follow-up. When I share my story and invite them to learn more, my follow-up is going to be either an invitation to a live Zoom or to send them a recording. So do you see that every step of the way, it is the stepping stones that come all along the way, And these are the very important pieces that we want to make sure at every given point that we stay consistent. The person on the other end of your conversation in your relationship, they don't know these guidelines, right? They don't have whatever, they don't have the school, they don't have whatever your team uses as a tool. So they don't know what you are supposed to do, okay? But they know that if you leave them hanging, that doesn't feel really good to them and they start to wonder. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. So follow up is very important because this is a relationship based business. So I want you to imagine that you have two like cliffs here and you're going to build a bridge from one cliff to another, right? And you're going to put little bricks all through there and build this bridge. That's what we're doing with relationships. Every time that we have a connection with someone, we say hi, we connect with them on Facebook, we invite them to learn more, we run into them at the grocery store. All of those are little pieces in the follow-up system. Those are all bricks in building that relationship. And the relationship is the core foundation that is so vital for building this business. We also build trust. We build trust by showing up authentically, by leaving somebody feeling good at the end of an interaction, by sending something that we say we're going to send. If we say, oh, I'm going to call you tomorrow at 3, we better call at 3 because if we don't, we've now eroded trust. Or if we're going to send a recording to a webinar and we send it, that builds trust. All of these things help to foster the relationship. Okay, because remember, you're going to hear me say this a lot. People need to know, like, and trust us. Know, like, and trust us. And all of these things that we're talking about feed into that. Also, the more that we build these relationships and trust and show up with authentic connections, this will increase our conversion rate of somebody who's interested to actually getting started on the technology. You want to stay forefront in their mind. I follow someone named Jen Gottlieb, and I just went and heard her speak at a small intimate gathering down in Miami. And she wrote a book called Be Seen. You guys might want to check it out. It's actually really good. She's a little dynamo. She's super cute. And what I love about her philosophy is that you want to be seen. You want to make yourself known. And this gives people an opportunity to what? Know, like, and trust you. And if they know you for who you are, the mom that you are, the dad that you are, the grandparent, the school teacher, the nurse, but also the person that helps people with their health. When they're ready, they're going to go to you. When they have a friend that is looking for something, they're going to go to you. That's why the more that we are going to follow some of the things that we're going to talk about today, that's why it's very important that you always stay in the top of their mind. Also, again, we're looking at and Dodi's going to talk about this in a minute, when we talk about how assisting someone to make decisions. The more that we're building the relationship and trust and they're getting to know us, this bridges the gap between that initial interest and a final decision. When I first heard about LifeWave, it was through people that I didn't know very well. And I really you guys have heard me probably say before, I thought, oh my goodness, this is like total voodoo. But I didn't know and trust those folks well. But when the person that shared this with me, I had an incredible high level of trust. And so what did that do? That helped me to be able to make the decision just that much faster. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Dodi. You guys all know her because she helps on the back end with all the IT stuff and everything. But you know what? Dodi is a very, very accomplished business leader and excellent at follow-up. I've learned so much from her over the years. And so we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Dodi, and she's going to give you some really great wisdom on some follow-up.
Well, hey, everybody. What an honor it is to be here and getting an opportunity to share tonight, first of all, today. Um, yeah, you know what, you guys? I am a stats girl. I love numbers. I know some people don't, but what I want you to do, I want to start with talking a little bit about follow-up stats because the first time I saw this, which was probably 10 years ago, and the numbers are still relevant today. I want you to really look at what does it take in follow up to have people not only hear you, but start their journey with you. And the ones I want you to focus on here is 2% of people start on the first contact. So if y'all are beating yourselves up, I've done it. If you're beating yourselves up about people not starting when you have that first conversation, number one, give yourself some grace and recognize that very few people actually start on the first contact. So when they do start the first time with you, take that as a huge win, right? What I really want you to look at on that is 80%, I'm going to say it again, 80% of people start when you followed up with them 5 to 12 times. And Wendy's going to talk about the different ways to follow up. That doesn't mean it's a phone call 5 times or that kind of thing 12 times. There's a lot of different touches that come into follow up. But what I want you to see is how important it is to stay consistent and follow up with everybody. And then I want you to look at the follow-up statistics below that as to how much people follow up. And I'm going to challenge you a little bit today. I want you to ask yourself where in these follow-up stats, no judgment, no beating yourself up, just kind of a current reality of where you are in the number of times you follow up with people. Because if you look at this, only 10% of people follow up more than 3 times, right? 48%, half of the people that are doing something that serves others and can make a difference in their lives, almost half of them never follow up after that initial conversation, right? I want you to just fathom that for a minute. Just soak that in. So, what we really want to talk about today is how vital, just statistically, the numbers don't lie, how vital follow up is. And then I want to talk a little bit about what's holding you back. And I want you guys to pop in the chat for a minute. Like Patty said, we want to be really interactive. I'd love for you to pop in the chat. If there's something that holds you back from following up, what is it? Pop in the chat and share what it is with me really quick as we get going here. It's usually concept. Myself, great. Kevin, great answer. Bugging people, afraid of no, right? Don't want to be put, you guys just hit everything on the slide. I love it, right? But what I really want you to see as you're looking at the chat right now is all of us had those concepts at some point. We're just a little bit ahead of you. And what I want you to think about is when you think you're bugging family and friends, or you're not organized, or you're afraid of no, or you feel salesy, all of those things, right? When we are having those thoughts in our head, I want to share a couple things with you about that. Number one is, and I know this is hard to fathom, but guess what? People really aren't thinking about us as much as we think they are. In fact, if you had a conversation with somebody or you texted them and tried to move this to a phone call and things like this, the minute that they read that text, the minute that they had the phone call with you, when they're done with that call, it is out of their mind because probably they have the kids screaming in the background, the cat threw up on the carpet, they're late to work, the coffee spilled, they've got all these things going on that just put them back into their world. And even though we know we've got the greatest thing in the world out here and we want everybody to utilize it, it is not top of mind for them right away. So, what the follow up piece does with this, when we're talking about the concepts we have, is it keeps us top of mind with them. Okay. And what I really I want you to think about for a minute is action trumps everything. So, if you're saying to yourself, I'm afraid, the fastest way to get fit, you have this little person on your shoulder, right? Probably your little inner voice going, they are going to think you're trying to sell them. They are going to think it's too much. They're not going to want to do it. They have a good job. They're not going to want to do business. All these little things, right? I want you to do this. Bam. I want you to flick that person right off. And I want you to pretend you have somebody that you really admire in Lifeway, maybe David Schmidt even on your other shoulder going, we got to get this out to everybody. and not care about what their reaction is. I want you to think about, you know what, I'm gonna give you a great analogy. Your server in a restaurant, if you go to a restaurant, the server comes by and goes, "Hey, would you like ketchup on the side with that?" And you go, "No." You don't hurt their feelings. They don't cry. They don't go away and never come back to the table, right? They're just like, "Hey, they don't want it next." And I want you to think about that when you're talking about this. Don't let a no stop you from continuing to reach out, because all that is a not yet. They're either not ready or they don't know enough, right? And how they get ready and how they learn more so they do know enough is you following up with them, right? So what I want to encourage you to do is follow up is giving them the opportunity to decide in all these different areas and really focusing on reaching out and sharing, following up fearlessly. Because let's be real, I know you guys don't know me very well with my teaching style, but I'm going to ask you a question in the chat. Can I just be real with you? Give me like a 4 in the chat if I can just put it out there for you. Okay? Here's what I'm going to say to you. When we don't follow up because of a concept we have, we are being selfish. This business and this opportunity we have is about serving others. And when we allow those concepts to hold us back, it keeps us from serving and loving on others. I want you to soak that in for a minute. So I want to encourage you to let them make that decision, let them decide, and recognize that you are not bugging them. They haven't even thought about you. So we got to stay in their world and keep doing some things that Wendy's going to talk about that's going to allow them to remember that we're here when they are ready. Okay? That's what I'm going to say on that. Now, I want to talk about the next thing that everybody I know in here loves. How many people love systems? Right? Everybody's going, "Oh, no, systems." I'm going to hit systems really quickly. We hear all the time, and you probably have heard this from somebody in your life. "I'm not organized. I don't like structure." All these things that we tell ourselves, right? But the reality is, systems and structure are the things that allow us to love on people. When we have a system in place, we get to spend the majority of our time doing what we love to do and sharing this gift with others. When we don't have a system in place, anybody do this in the morning? I don't know who I'm going to call. Where's my sheet? I don't know where my tracking is, right? And when we do that, we waste so much time that we could be spending really giving this gift to other people. So tracking is key. And as you look at tracking, okay, you don't want to lose anyone. I've lost people to follow up. Wendy's lost people to follow up. Patty's lost people. Everybody has. Danny and Diane, all the leaders, Joe, Candy, all of them. They've all lost people to follow up. But we will lose less if we put a system in place and we get really dialed in. And so I don't want you to feel like you have to have a spreadsheet or you have to have an Excel sheet with 500 tabs on it. I want you to find something that works for you. If you are not a techie girl or a techie guy, please don't try to use a spreadsheet because you won't use it. Maybe you just want to have notebooks, and that's great. Maybe you want to use the Pro System Tracker. That's great too. What you want to do is find something that's going to work for you. I'm going to share a story with you guys because Patty and I have been doing business in life a long time, Wendy too. When I first started, and I was working my 9 to 5 job, which was more like a 10 to 12 hour a week or 10 to 12 hour day job, maybe longer. I had people's information on the back of receipts from the restaurant, post-it notes from work, all these little things. And my business was growing okay because I was, sharing with a lot of people when we were doing it. But the minute I sat down and put them in a notebook and had a system in place, it blew up for me because I didn't spend so much time getting ready to get ready and being busy trying to find stuff. So I really want to encourage you guys today to look at systems as your friend. And if you don't love them, start with baby steps. Find a tracking system that most speaks to you that you can think to start easy with. And we're going to give you a few action steps later on to kind of talk about how to get that started. Okay. But tracking is what gives us the opportunity to really stay connected and spend time with people. So now I want to talk about the last thing I'm going to leave you with. There's this thing called the cycle of readiness. And we never know when we're having a conversation with somebody where they are. And you guys, this is where you have to give yourself some grace, but you also have to give other people grace too. You don't know what's going on in their lives when you shoot a text message out, or you send them a Facebook message, or you pick up the phone and call them. And this cycle of readiness is everybody is in different stages of readiness when we start to talk to them, and we generally don't know where they're at. I'm going to give you an example. If somebody sees a post you put up that says you feel great and you have so much more energy and you're just loving life and you're out walking with the dog or playing with the kids, and they see that and they go, wow, I wonder what that energy is all about. And they message you. They might just be curious because you got their attention. The last thing on their mind is, I need to do something about my health. But you just got their attention and they went, that's kind of that pre-contemplation, like, oh, curious, what are they doing? Right? But if that person starts to follow you and something happens in their world, like they get a bad report at the doctor, or something happens to their mama or their dad, or their sister or a family member or a friend, and they've been following you, then they're curious and they go, okay, I got to look into this a little bit more. They still might not be ready to start, but they're in a different cycle of readiness. And then what happens is they see you one day and they go, ah, I have got to do something about this. Oh, that's right. Wendy had talked. What is that thing Wendy's doing? She tried to talk to me. I'm gonna go call Wendy. And boom, the next thing you know, somebody's reaching out to you, and you've got them started on the technology and you're changing their life. But we don't know where in the cycle of readiness they are when we talk to them the first time. And you don't know where they are every time you follow up. But what I will tell you is if you keep the follow-up consistent, when they are in that cycle of readiness where they're ready to do something, you are going to be top of mind for them and you are going to be the person that they reach out to. I will also tell you if you don't follow up, someone else is going to sign them up because we all know LifeWave is blowing up and so many people need what we have and so many people are ready for it. And they are going to have other people in their lives that are going to be ready for it too and are going to be sharing it as well. So you want to make sure that you are reaching out and being diligent and sharing with all your friends and family, following up with all of your friends and family, and helping everybody move towards living their best life and not giving up with them. Because what happens is if you don't follow up with them because of the concepts you have, that's when it feels like you were just trying to sell them something or get them started on something. But when you come from a place of staying connected and all the things that Wendy's going to share in a second here, and you come from a place of following up and genuine concern and caring, you are going to change the world and you're going to create an amazing business for yourself and the life that you want for your family. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. So now that we have that out, I want to encourage you. You're probably going, great, guys. Tell me what this looks like now. How do I follow up? So I'm going to hand it to Wendy, and Wendy's going to talk a little bit about what this looks like and sounds like to follow up.
Thank you so much, Jody. And what an honor to be on here with all of you and share a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. But before we talk about what does follow up look like and sound like, and we're going to see some examples also, I'd like to take a big, like you guys to all zoom out for a second. I want you to know that in every single step of follow up, we are going to lose people. Just like Jody and Patty were saying, some aren't going to respond with the first message. Some are going to say, oh, sounds interesting, and then crickets. Some are going to schedule a call and they're not going to answer it when you call them. And some are going to listen and they're going to just decide right off the bat that this isn't for them. So, as Dodie was just sharing with you about the cycle of readiness, people are in very different stages when we meet them. And that's how they're going to move forward with their decision making process. I mean, they've got to be in a place where they're really ready for this. It's not a failure. It's just how people move through their decisions, which is why follow-up starts, and get this, guys, because I know everyone had great answers, before the message actually goes out. Okay? It starts actually with your share list, putting it on a phone, wherever you want to be. It starts with writing names down. All right? This is a simple share list, though. It's not a pressure list. It's not a who do I want to convince list. It's not a who can I sell this to list. Personally, I love to call it my heart list. It's just people that you care about, people you know, people you've connected with. So when someone is written on that list, the whole mindset starts to shift a little bit. All right. You're no longer chasing a response when you're reaching out to people. You're actually learning how to stay in relationship with them. And that's why we're going to give you some examples that we're going to show you work, but not because of the words that are written in there. It's because the intention behind them is actually coming from your heart. All right. So I want to share some slides so that you can look at them. And Dodie, you want to just kind of pop a couple of examples that we have up, but I don't want you guys to write these down. I don't want you to really look at words, okay? Because we're going to see some of these slides might ring true to some of you, maybe just a little bit. I think we've all probably sent out at least one of these type of messages, probably with good intentions. I know personally I have saying things, I mean, pop in the chat below if you have said things that you're like, this kind of didn't really maybe sound the way I wanted it to. So things kind of like, hey, did you make your decision yet? I'm just following up. Or I don't want to bug you, but are you ready to get started yet? No rush at all. Just checking in with you, right? Things like this. There's nothing wrong with those kind of follow-up messages or starting out like that because they are coming from your heart. And I know we all have really good intentions with that, but they all have that same underlying type of energy. And sometimes that energy comes across as pressure. And it's not pressure because we mean it to be. It's pressure because sometimes we make it more about us. It's a hard thing to think about. But sometimes we're feeling like, I'm waiting for them to say yes, or I'm really nervous. Are they going to come on board, right? I need an answer so I can move forward and not worry about that person anymore. Sometimes it's the way we're feeling internally. And the moment follow up starts to become something about soothing our own discomfort, it changes how it's going to land for other people. And sometimes this is true because, like, have you guys ever picked up your phone and just kind of looked at it and went, oh man, I don't want to send this message out? Or oh, do I really have to? This just doesn't sound right. Remember, if it doesn't sound right to you, it's probably not going to be received that way as well. If it feels awkward or weird, it's exactly how that's going to feel to them. So, what I want you to hear is that follow up isn't the problem, it's how we follow up that becomes the problem. When follow up works, it sounds less salesy, more like you just continuing a normal conversation. All right. So, what I'd like to do is have you hear some better options that might come across a little bit easier for you. Like, I was just thinking of you, or how are you feeling about what I shared? This is something referencing real emotion. Okay. Did any questions come up, or what part of what I sent stood out to you? This is going to remove a little bit of the pressure that you might feel and they might feel. Would it help to chat now or later? Give people space without disappearing on them, because as Jody was showing you those statistics, sometimes we reach out once or twice and then we stop and they just weren't in that cycle of readiness yet. And remember, keep the relationship intact. Regardless of what the outcome of your follow-up is, the relationship with people is priority. It has got to always be your priority. So following up isn't about getting a yes. It's about keeping that trust. When people feel safe around you, they're going to respond. When they feel rushed or pressured, though, they're going to avoid us like a hot potato, right? At all costs. So as we go through the rest of the training, what I want to let you be able to do is let go of the idea that follow-up means you're chasing someone, right? I mean, you're not going after people. When it's done right, follow-up is actually, I personally feel, an obligation, and it's being in service to others. That's what this is all about. All right. So we're going to share a couple of follow-up messages that actually Jody, Patty, and I kind of put together. They're all a little bit different. All right. I'm not going to read through messages. They're kind of examples. What I'd like to give you guys, though, is context around the messages. And remember, each message is going to be different. So, just don't look at wording, but see messages. So, again, I'm not going to read through them. You guys can read through them, but I just want you to see that each message is going to be different. So, don't look at the wording, just see the feel for it. Most people are going to see examples. Most of the examples actually are going to be people that are close relationships to us. And what matters is because the relationship that you have is always going to guide the conversation and what you're saying. Remember that. All right. So these are people that were like Facebook friends. The first example is actually somebody, one of my messages that I was reconnecting with a Facebook friend who commented on a post. Now it's someone that I have communicated with for a few years, actually, even through my other business. Information was shared. She wasn't ready to talk. And now the goal wasn't to push her, but it was just to make little deposits to stay in that relationship and offer value. You'll also see a response to a birthday message. The other person opened the door by mentioning a knee replacement. Oh my gosh, Patty just simply noticed that and she walked right in. All right, that's reading between the lines. She didn't force a share. She just followed the opening and set a time to talk. Okay. And that's an important skill in follow up. Read through the cracks of the conversations. Know when there is a door opening. Is it open now, or do you need to foster that relationship a little more before sharing? Super, super important. Okay. Next example, you're going to see a reach out that happens 2 years if you look at the dates. This person reconnected because of a post they saw on Facebook. Do you see how Patty asked for a phone number and an email? This is key to staying in contact with people. Whenever possible, get that information early. You can always offer your number first and then ask for theirs. Sometimes it's a little bit easier that way. They'll give it to you. And finally, there's an example of reconnecting with an old Facebook friend. Even if it's been years, even if you've lost touch, look at the wording. What a simple, genuine way to reopen the relationship and invite reconnection. So again, please don't focus on words. Focus on the awareness, focus on the timing and the relationship. That's what's going to make follow-up feel natural instead of forced. Okay? So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about follow-up and deposits and withdrawals. All right? Because follow-up is all about making deposits, not asking for withdrawals. Think about a bank. If you haven't made any deposits in a bank, there is nothing to withdraw. Would be nice if there was, but there's not. So every time you reach out, you're either adding to that relationship or you're asking something from it. And the strongest relationships are built on consistent deposits over time. Deposits can look really different depending on that relationship. Sometimes the best follow-up is a phone call, right? Pick up the phone, tone matters. Sometimes I leave voice texts, which is great, or video messages, they're fantastic. Quick text messages, because that's really personal, it's low pressure. Sometimes it's an email because maybe the person you're talking to likes space and clarity, and maybe they don't even have a phone that they want to be texted into, right? It may be sharing a testimony or a story, not to convince people, but again, it's to connect with people. Sometimes it is engaging in Facebook or Instagram, just staying visible in their world, being a human, being a person, being present in their world. I love meeting for coffee and lunch if it's somebody that's close by to you, because relationships move with that speed of trust. And speed of trust is everything when you're building relationships with people. Another way, invite them to our school support group. All right. Invite them to an X39 presentation or a specialty Zoom that we have. And I always like to ask, we're doing this. Would you like to see it instead of spamming people with messages all the time? Super important to make sure they know you care about them. None of these, if you notice, are about, are you ready yet? A deposit says, I see you, I remember you, I thought of you, and I care about you. And they count, even if nothing is going to happen right away. You've got to remember, some people are going to drift. Some people are going to pause. Some will come back weeks, months, or even years later, when your follow-up has been deposit-based, there is no awkward restart. Trust me on this. Your relationship is there already, and it's about building on that relationship. So I wanted to just share a quick personal story with you because you guys don't know me. Patty and I have been friends for colleagues, really, for probably, I want to say about 30 years. I know this is like really aging us in our background. We are both nurse practitioners, and Patty had wanted to share her past coaching practice business with me for years because we had practices in the same community. I had zero interest, guys. I didn't want to hear anything about it. We would go to pharmaceutical dinners together in the car. She'd pick up the phone during our ride to a restaurant, and she'd make coaching calls just to show me, because I knew what she was thinking, this is how easy it is. I wasn't interested. She followed up in friend mode because she knew she could read me and dripped that business. Okay, hold on to your hats for 7 years. 7 years before I said yes. Okay. This is what staying in friendship and relationship is about. And let me tell you something. When I was ready, it changed my life. Okay. The importance of relationships and trust when you're in a follow-up space of caring is everything. Just because people aren't responding back, even after that 12th time, make sure you stay in that relationship with them. So if there's one takeaway from everything that we've shared so far, okay, follow up isn't a script. It's a mindset. It's a system that you're going to build over time. And that's exactly what we're going to tie together next. So I'm going to turn it back over to Patty, who's going to help us pull this into some simple closing thoughts and most importantly, clear steps that you can actually take starting today. Okay? Patty, take it away.
I love that. But as we close up today and just move forward, so I think one of the things that Wendy really communicated is a follow-up is not always, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? She talked about making deposits and withdrawals. A deposit into a relationship is something like commenting on their Facebook page, sending them a happy birthday message, running into them at the grocery store. It's a connection because remember, we want to be seen in their world. Giving value is definitely important also. And as you circle back around, that deposit might be it might be an ask. And so it might be, hey, I had a few minutes today. I wanted to reach out to you. I came across this great testimony and it really spoke to me because it reminded me of some of the things that you were going through. How are you doing? You've got some great goals. Are you in a space where you're ready to get started on this technology? Okay. But if every single time that you ping them or every single time that they hear from you, it's only, are you ready? Are you ready? They're going to push you away. So that's why a lot of what we talk about is about the relationship. And if you notice one of the messages up there that, that Wendy shared, somebody wished me a happy birthday. And then I went back into friend relationship with him. And that's what led to his comment about the knee replacement that then led us to a phone call that, yes, he's started on the technology. And, he's sent me a couple of referrals already. He's doing great. But it's all about that relationship first, if that makes sense. Because once they know what you do, they know what you do. Going back to what Dodie said, tie all the things together that we talked about. I want to encourage you today, never ever take it personally. Never take it personally. If someone says no, I just line them up on the fence. They're just a not yet. I have hundreds of people sitting on the fence. They're watching. As Danny and Diane say, they're all coming. I'm just going to wait and I'm just going to keep shining my light until they are. So really just remember that. You can never say the wrong thing to the right people and the right thing to the wrong people. If someone's not open-minded, even though this technology is for everybody, there will be some people who, for whatever reason, at this point in time, it's just not a match for them or who they are or where they are at this point in time. And again, going back to that cycle of readiness, for me, I always think about that circle that Dodie showed because I become very emotional about how this technology can help someone and I want to help them. But I have to remember that their journey is their journey and they're going to come along at their point in time when it's the right time for them. My responsibility and my obligation is to make sure that I keep showing up, right? It's never about getting on a call. I got to get another client. I got to get someone started. I need points for Hawaii or, any of that. That will all come when we lead with our heart and when we lead with being in relationship and serving another person. So we're going to leave you with a couple of action steps today, and then there were a couple of questions that we'll answer in the Q&A. So I'm going to just encourage you, write down your list, take a screenshot if you want. Start where it starts, and that is with your share list. Get your share list out. Do you have everyone's name? Who have you maybe forgotten? Maybe you forgot that coworker that you used to work with, or that other nurse at the hospital, or the dad that coached the football team. Think about who is on your heart that maybe you didn't write their name down, and think about doing that. I want to encourage you to get your follow-up system set. How are you tracking? Somebody asked in the chat for a tracking system. If you go back to what we talked about, there are so many different ways that you can track. Somebody put in the chat, she has a little, it reminded me of like a little recipe box with 3x5 cards. That's great. I personally use a notebook and I move people through there. They're in my share list. Once I've reached out to them, then they go into the next step, which is inviting them to a share call. Once I've sent them the video. So I'm tracking it every single step of the way so I know. We've got the pro list. So whatever works for you so that you don't leave someone behind. Someone also asked, how often do you follow up? That's a great question. Within 24 to 48 hours. So if I meet somebody out at a coffee shop or at a gathering or at a networking meeting, or if I have a referral, the sooner I can get in contact with them, the better. If I send them a video, I usually say, hey, the video's about 12 minutes long. Of course, I use the one that Dr. Tori and I did, of course. But I also, what I do is I will personalize it and give them some others. But whatever you're going to send them, send that. And what I say is the video is about 12 minutes long. I have some time later on tonight or tomorrow. What's better for you? So I'm setting it up right then and there. And you want to create an urgency, okay? Because they're going to be excited and you want to move forward. We're going to talk about I guess we really didn't talk about long-term follow-up. But once I have moved somebody, let me stop my share here. Once I move somebody to, let's say I've done, I sent a video or I've done a share. Then what I do from there is I'm making every attempt to get them on a call, right? But if I'm pinging, trying different ways, and they're not scheduling, I'm going to move it out and I'm going to go to a weekly connection. And because what that's telling me is either they're not seeing my messages or they're not ready to talk to me yet, or something's happened in their life. I don't know. And one of my key principles that I've learned is I never, ever, ever make an assumption because I don't know what's going on in their world, right? But once I'm just not getting a response, I will move that out to a weekly contact. My weekly contact will be, I'm going to connect with them on Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to go to their page, I'm going to like and comment, and I'm going to make sure that I have a conversation going in Messenger. And that conversation in Messenger is about what's going on in their life. Hey, how'd you handle all that snow in North Carolina? Or wow, how was your cruise to the Bahamas? Whatever is going on, I'm going to stay in relationship with them. I'm going to invite them periodically to any of the specialty Zooms. All of those things that Wendy talked about, that's your basket of tools. So you can pull out from there and constantly give value. I like to send out a week. I actually send an email twice a week to all of my folks, whether they're using the patches or they're thinking about it. And I'm giving value. I'm giving value. I take stuff from school. I take it from YouTube. I pull up a little article, all of the things. And so all of these things are ways to stay in contact because I want to be seen in their world. Does that make sense? You really can't do it wrong unless if the only thing you do is send them a text, hey, you ready to get started? Hey, you ready to get started? Okay. Okay. But if you just show up in their world and they know what you do, you guys are golden. So give me a 7 in the chat if this has been super helpful for you guys today. Give us some feedback here. Okay, good. We got lots of 7s. Okay, let me go back here to closing it up then. Get your folks into a system. If you have 12 Ziploc bags of sticky notes and business cards and scribbled notes on receipts and napkins and all the things, for God's sakes, all 3 of us have done that. Dump out your Ziploc bags this weekend and this week while your leadership is gone, and get yourself an organized system. And if you're not sure and you need some guidance, reach out to your support team and say, hey, what are you doing for a follow-up system? Can you give me some suggestions? But the way to eat an elephant is 1 bite at a time. So start with getting your people organized, and then you can just start reaching out. Set your goal. What is your DMO going to be? Do you want to reach out to 3 people a day, 5 people a day, whatever, okay? I also keep an email group with all of my folks that are using the patches. And I also have a group for my not yets. And that way I can send very specific emails with wording to both of them. Okay. And here's my favorite little pro tip. Find a day that works for you for follow-up, because the more that you can create some system and structure to it. I like to do a follow-up Friday. It's a great day. It's the end of the week. People are coming up for air after all the craziness. Most people got paid. So it's a great time to talk with them. So find a day that's going to work for you. And most of all, just start. Like turn down the head, turn up the heart. Because as Wendy and Dodie shared, guys, this is a relationship-based business. And we want to be able to stay in connection with someone. There were a couple people that put in the chat that when they first heard about the technology, they weren't ready. But the people that they were in conversation with stayed in contact with them. And they knew that that person cared. So you might think it feels awkward. I feel salesy. It feels icky. I don't want to bug them. Actually, it's just the opposite. And I heard a story from someone years ago that said, if you had a friend that was in the hospital and they were there for a month, and on the first couple days you went to visit them, they would be so appreciative. But then what would happen over the next 3.5 weeks, they're still in the hospital, but you never went to visit them. How do you think that that would leave them feeling? So all of these things are so important and they all tie in together. Just show up because you can't do it wrong as long as you lead with your heart. And we're going to close up. I have a little story to read to you, but I want you to remember most of all that persistence is polite. As teenagers, we painfully learned that if you call someone and they don't call you back, they're just not into you. If you keep calling, you might be a total loser. But in the business world, it's the opposite. Persistence is polite. And if you don't keep calling, you might actually be a loser. So imagine this. You call me and you get my voicemail and you leave me a message. You don't know that I hardly ever listen to my voicemail. A few days later, you call me again, but I'm out, So you leave me a message with a real person in my office. I see the message on my desk that you called, and I keep meaning to call you back, but I just got distracted. My desk fills up with so much stuff, and it buries that little message that my assistant left. So, oopsie, I forgot. You email me to let me know you've been trying to reach me, but your email arrives just as I was leaving to go out of town for a conference for 5 days. And when I return from the conference, holy smokes, I've got 1,000 emails in my inbox. You call again, you talk to someone in my office, and you tell them to tell me it's important that you've left messages with no reply. They come knock on my office door to tell me you're on the phone. I finally pick up the phone and say, "Hi, sorry I was so hard to reach." At this point, I'm sincerely glad that you had the manners to keep trying because I really did want to talk to you. Imagine this instead. You call me and get my voicemail. You leave me a message. I get busy with other things and forget to call you back. You silently rage for years, thinking I'm a loser, thinking I hate you, so you hate me too. Calling once and never again like that, it's kind of rude and inconsiderate. In this business, you have to prove that something is important to you by being persistent. If you mail someone a package and you don't follow up until you reach at them, it means you didn't care. Persistence is polite and considerate because it shows that you understand how busy people can get and it shows how much you care. And I appreciate Derek Sievers, and I want to give him credit for doing that. So I hope this gave value to you guys today. Um, use the tools in school. Connect with your support team if you'd like some additional help. If you're feeling a little rocky on how to send a message or what a follow-up conversation looks like, I'm a really big proponent of three-way calls because that is real-time learning and that can help build your confidence and your competence as you're having the conversations. So lean into your support team. They're there for you. You're never, ever, ever bugging them. And I want to thank Wendy and Dodie for helping today and sharing great, great, great wisdom. And congratulations to every one of you who took time out on a Saturday to be here. And I can't wait to hear how things are going with you as you're building relationships, building trust, and therefore you're going to be able to have a huge impact on the health and the lives of others. So we're going to open it up to questions. Dodie, I think you were looking in the chat. Were there any questions that we wanted to answer?
Wendy, here's the question that came up with several people. Do you ever follow up with people when you lost touch with, and how do you start that conversation again? Because she's the pro at
She
this.
is the queen bee of this. Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
What a great question. And actually it was kind of one of the examples that we had also. So yeah, depending on your relationship again, if it's somebody that maybe you thought of because you've been just communicating in Facebook, but it's been years, right? Always go check out what's going on with them. And remember, things are always happening. Maybe you see something on their page. Maybe it's a holiday, New Year's, Christmas, whatever. I love to pop in and I always put it on me. I'm like, Jody, oh my gosh, girl, I just saw on your Facebook page that you just got back from a vacation and I got to apologize. My life has been really busy and I wanted to reach out and say hi and see how was your vacation? I would love to reconnect with you and just kind of catch up a little bit. Lots have been changing on my work on my end also. You have any time to talk this weekend or this week? What days work best for you? And I just can't wait to hear how you have been. It's been years. So somebody that I don't know really well, let's say, okay, someone that I do know, just lost contact with though, that'll usually be I have their phone number. Okay. I might just, go, whoa, Dodie, you know what? I was just going through my contacts, clearing things out, and I realized you and I haven't talked in years. And I was just thinking about things that we did in the past, and I would love to hop on a quick call with you and catch up with you. What's been happening with you? So much is happening for me right now. I'd love to be able to see how you are and share with you what's been changing over the years for me. You have any time to talk today or tomorrow? And I always end it. What's best for you? Give them times that you'd like to talk, but make it personal. When you haven't been in that relationship for a while, it's like you've been busy, you wanted to catch up with them, you want to hear how they're doing. Do they have time to talk?